Hi everybody, my name is Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor in South Florida, and I'd like to introduce you to today's webinar, Introduction to Apps for QuickBooks. This webinar is done in collaboration with Intuit Academy and Apps.com. Just want to give everybody a quick reminder, the biggest gathering of QuickBooks users combining pro advisors, accountants, business owners, and developers will be in San Jose, California, October 21st and 23rd, and I hope to see you there. For more information, go to QuickBooksConnect.com. Alright, so today's objectives are 1. Understanding what an app is and how do they benefit you and your clients. And when I say your clients, we're talking to accountants here and QuickBooks advisors, but also if you're a business owner, a business manager, or a bookkeeper looking at this webinar, you also may want to think about how this could benefit you and your business. We're going to learn how to navigate through the QuickBooks Apps.com website. It's just www.apps.com. We'll help you navigate through it, give you the ins and outs of how the website is put together, how to find information, and how to pick the right app. How to access the apps from within QuickBooks. So within QuickBooks Online has access to apps, and we'll show you how to access it and how to create free trial accounts and how to create your connections. We'll also learn how to explain to clients how apps are integrated, what this integration thing means, and what does it mean for your business, and how can it help you run your business better. We're also going to identify a couple of apps. So we're going to grab a couple of apps at random and kind of go through them and explain to you what they do and how to use them. All right, let's get started. So what's an app? App is actually short for application. An application is a software designed to perform a specific function, but an application is always meant to be run inside of an operating system, or a term that's used more often today, inside of a platform. The classic example would be Microsoft Word, for example. That would be an application, but Microsoft Windows, where the application runs in, that would be the operating system. One that's more relevant to today's age is the iPhone. The iPhone or smartphones run on their own operating systems, and developers create apps, right? The most popular app, or maybe one of the most popular apps out there, Angry Birds, that would be a great example of an app. But we're not here to talk about Angry Birds. We're here to talk about QuickBooks. Traditionally speaking, QuickBooks would be an application. QuickBooks Desktop, the application that most people are used to, the one that's been in the market for over 20 years, that would be an application. Most specifically, accounting software. That's a category that QuickBooks Desktop software has had over the years. Now, with QuickBooks Online, however, QuickBooks Online meets both categories. It's both an application, an accounting application, accounting software, and it's also an operating system or platform. And that's the basis for apps that work in conjunction with QuickBooks. So QuickBooks Online would be like your iPhone, and we'll talk about a couple of apps. They're installed on top of it, and they work in conjunction and integrated with it. So we're going to talk about all those details in a second. Now, QuickBooks Online has an open and free architecture for programmers. That's an important piece to discuss, because programmers do not have a cost barrier of entry to be able to synchronize their apps with QuickBooks. So when the first API came out for QuickBooks Online, there was a charge, but now programmers don't have to worry about that charge anymore. So if you're a developer, feel free to look into its API and start building apps that talk to QuickBooks. Now, the purpose of building an app through this API platform is so data can flow in and out. So some apps just read data from QuickBooks, some apps write data into QuickBooks, or both. Now, QuickBooks Online, it's in the cloud. That means that the entire database is out there. It's in Intuit's servers. And the developers create applications that write information in and out also in the cloud. So that prevents you from having to do any sort of data transfer or syncing. So it allows all these applications to coexist within the same data set as QuickBooks. This is what Intuit is calling the QuickBooks ecosystem, or the Intuit ecosystem. These are multiple applications, multiple moving parts that all talk to each other via the QuickBooks Online platform. Now, switching gears a little bit, let's discuss some of the traditional QuickBooks applications like QuickBooks Desktop, Pro, Premier, Enterprise, Accountant. QuickBooks Desktop does have an API. It's actually called the SDK, the Software Developers Kit. And since 2002, developers have access to this kit, and they've been able to transfer data in and out of QuickBooks. So it's not something that's brand new to be able to get data in and out of QuickBooks. But the problem is, it's that this data had to be transferred within a specific computer. So your QuickBooks database, your QuickBooks company file would have to be in a physical laptop, desktop, or server. And this SDK would be another software that runs next to it and transfers data in and out. Now, this type of structure, it's termed as friction, right? There's the need for an IT person to configure these third-party apps. There's a need to make sure that these computers are on all the time and interconnected. There's a need for the software to be configured and syncing to be pressed and reset and that sort of thing. So this friction means that there's less of a chance of the data being completely integrated or in a timely fashion, and it also increases the cost a little bit. So this is where QuickBooks Online really has the edge, because with QuickBooks Online, the data being in the cloud all the time in real time doesn't require the user to have any sort of IT configuration, any sort of data transfer. This all happens behind the scenes without the user having to worry and making this friction go away. Now, QuickBooks Online, let's take a look at the year-over-year, or actually quarter-over-quarter growth. As you can see, in first quarter of fiscal year 2010, there was only 140,000 subscribers. This past quarter of fiscal year 2014, we're up to over 680,000 subscribers. So you can really see the exponential growth on QuickBooks Online. And this is because accountants, business owners, bookkeepers, they're embracing the power behind the cloud. They're embracing working faster, working better, working more efficiently, working anytime, working anywhere. And third-party developers have had a huge piece of this success because they've enabled additional functionality to the core QuickBooks Online, and they're allowing users to work on the cloud more and more with these integrations. Now, what are some of the benefits of working with apps? So the sort of the low-hanging fruit, the easiest explanation to what an app does is it adds additional functionality. A good example is SOS Inventory. QuickBooks Online has been heavily known and criticized for how the lack of power on the inventory side. Yeah, QuickBooks Online by itself is not a real powerful inventory program. It's a core accounting program, but to add more accounting functions that are specific to inventory, such as sales orders, inventory assemblies, things that really go beyond the core, you would go with an app like SOS Inventory and be able to have these features. And what's nice about SOS Inventory, for example, is that this app completely takes over the inventory process. So you will still use QuickBooks Online to manage your receivables, receive your customer payments, make your deposits, reconcile your banks, pay your vendors, that sort of thing. But then you would do the entire inventory process just in SOS. Now, not every app is there to add more functionality. Sometimes we have customers or even some of us that have a shopping cart, or they're working with other platforms, Amazon, eBay, These are other platforms that have nothing to do with QuickBooks, and they're designed to have their own functions. With Amazon, you sell merchandise, eBay, you sell merchandise. However, an app like ECC Cloud is not there to necessarily add more functions. It's actually there to create a connection between the two platforms. So this particular app serves the sole purpose of getting your data from your shopping cart into QuickBooks Online. Let me just do a more clear example of this. So traditional QuickBooks users that work with shopping carts, they would get all their daily sales from Amazon. They'll get a spreadsheet or maybe an email or something like that, and then they would have to hand key all the orders as invoices in QuickBooks. This creates double data entry, it creates a potential margin of error, it creates inefficiency. So an app like this is there to build that bridge between the two platforms and lower the amount of double data entry the user potentially can be doing. Now, some of the apps that we're excited to see go live in the last couple of months, last 30 to 60 days, are Vend, Zenpayroll, and Flint, and I'll just tell you a little bit about each one. So Vend is a point of sale system exclusive for QuickBooks Online. So it was built for QuickBooks Online. Not to say that it will never work for QuickBooks Desktop. We really don't know if the developer wants to go that route, but it was built for QuickBooks Online and is the first point of sale system built just for QBO. Now, the interesting thing about this app is that most QuickBooks users have seen there's a version of QuickBooks called QuickBooks Point of Sale. So QuickBooks Point of Sale, it's a software developed by Intuit that Intuit sells, and it is an important part of Intuit's revenue. And traditionally speaking, you would think, why would Intuit allow a third-party programmer to build a point of sale system to compete with one of QuickBooks Intuit's products like QuickBooks Point of Sale? And the quick answer to that is it is more important for Intuit, for QuickBooks Online strategy, to be a platform for the small business than to be the end-all be-all accounting / operating functions for the business. So QuickBooks Online will still serve its purpose as your core accounting database system, and you allow third-party programmers, even if they work in the same field as products that Intuit already develops, allow them to talk to QuickBooks Online, allow them to be really, really good at their specific function. Now, another one, it's interesting, also on the same sort of theme, Zenpayroll. It's actually an app, but it's a payroll service, which also competes in one way or the other with Intuit, because Intuit has a payroll service. And I'm not telling everybody that they should go to Zenpayroll or they should go to Intuit Payroll. You would make your choice. But what I'm saying is Intuit created an open architecture for a competitor in the payroll services arena to integrate with QuickBooks Desktop and Online, because it is more important for QuickBooks Online to be a platform, an operating system, than to be the one system that does everything for the client. And Flint, another example, it's a mobile payment and online bill payment solution. It helps you and allows you to collect easier and better, faster in a mobile scenario with your customers, which also indirectly competes with Intuit's payment services. So the funny thing about these three apps that exclusively went live, these three apps are actually what you would normally think would be against the strategy of Intuit to bring competitors in the game. But the important piece is that these apps are integrated with QuickBooks Online, and they're there to make a better experience of QuickBooks Online. All right, moving on. Why apps? So why didn't Intuit just come up with one system that does everything and absorb all the applications and create functions and layers on top of Intuit and try to offer every business every function? So the reason for that is because Intuit recognizes that the small business world is getting very diverse. It's also getting smaller. Globalization affects every business now. So a couple years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when you think of globalization, we were thinking about big companies, international companies. Not anymore. For example, one of my favorite hot peppers in the world they come from France, and you would think France doesn't really make hot peppers, but they do. There's a tiny little city called Espelette, and it's a borderline between France and Spain, and they make this special type of peppers that they don't make anywhere in the world, and you can't buy them in the States. And now I can go online, I can buy them straight from the grower, and this is a tiny little grower, probably sells $1 million or less a year. This is considered to be a small business, but they're playing in the whole world. They're selling worldwide. So globalization, from a small business perspective, it's there. It's very relevant, and the internet and the cloud has allowed everybody to play in the same field. So Intuit making an application or making an accounting software per se that will cater to all industries across the globe would be close to impossible, especially if they want to do it right, correct? So making a platform that it's a universal core, now that's the key word, it's core accounting functions, but has open access to third-party programmers that can make these applications and meet the specific needs of every industry, every vertical around the world. It is a more sustainable model, and it's part of QuickBooks' enormous success in the past couple of years. So some apps that actually give a good example to what I'm saying here is QVinci, DonorPath, and Repsly. So these are apps that have specific purposes, very specialized. QVinci allows you to consolidate financial reports from multiple companies or multiple locations. Now, traditionally, this was sold to franchises, business owners that had 2 stores, 3 stores, 4 stores, and they wanted to have a simple way of consolidating these financial statements. That's what the app QVinci did. And if you've been using QuickBooks Desktop, you know, or you may be aware that the only way to consolidate financial reports from multiple QuickBooks files would be through QuickBooks Enterprise. Now with QVinci, you don't have that as a minimum requirement, and you can actually consolidate multiple financial statements with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. The second app in there is DonorPath. DonorPath is actually a platform in itself. It's a fundraising platform for nonprofits, for companies that raise funds, and they already have their donors coming in there and putting their information, their address, their name, how much they're donating, and a QuickBooks user would traditionally have to repunch that data into QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks to create their invoices, to create their pledge receipts. With DonorPath app, you can actually sync this data so you don't have to enter it twice. Now the third one you see down there is Repsly. It actually changed the name from SalesPod, and this is specifically designed to track activities in the field, to salespeople on the road, and this app is designed for somebody to be able to track everything that's going on with their field salespeople. So these are 3 examples of applications that cater to that specialization specific need. Now, these 3 apps I'm going to mention here are not there to add additional functions, additional modules, additional functionality. They're actually there to bridge a gap between data that's one place into some other place. So the first one you see here is Transaction Pro Importer, and I'm going to do a quick example of that in a couple of minutes. Transaction Pro Importer is designed to take data that's already on spreadsheets, already in Excel files, and load them into QuickBooks, right? So this is all for the greater purpose of doing less data entry or less duplicate data entry. ECC Cloud, which I actually mentioned earlier, is there to integrate your shopping cart orders from Amazon, from eBay, from other shopping cart technologies, Shopify, some of the big ones, into QuickBooks Online. And there's an ECC version for QuickBooks Desktop as well, but the cloud version is the one that I'm showing you here. And Prism Capture, very exciting technology. This application allows the user to grab their vendor bills, scan them. Over time, you teach them what each boxes mean each box in the actual invoice. And then once you scan this data, it will recognize the information and automatically create these bills for you. So this is apps are actually bridging the gap between double data entry, triple data entry, double work, and accounting. So this is very interesting and exciting, and how these developers are coming up with these real innovative ways to help the small business owner, the bookkeeper, the accountant work faster, better, more efficiently, and more accurately. Now, some other apps worth mentioning. T-Sheets. It's between T-Sheets and Method. They're the two most popular apps, most seasoned apps in the Apps.com website. T-Sheets manages employees' timesheets. This is not a payroll service. It's not a payroll system. It's a robust, complex, and simple to use timesheet management system where the users, the employees, can clock in on a computer, on a tablet, on the phone, on their smartphone by calling an 800 number. They can, there's via Twitter. There's so many ways that they enable the user to be able to clock in and clock out. It's geo-targeted. That means that it's GPS location driven, so the manager can see where this employee was physically when they clocked in, physically when they clocked out, and they can manage these timesheets, approve them, and then these timesheets, once they're approved, they go over to QuickBooks timesheets so that you can process payroll within QuickBooks. Now, the interesting thing about T-Sheets, I'm going to go back to this slide here real quick. Zenpayroll is this payroll service I was telling you about that integrates with QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. But what's interesting is Zenpayroll, it's actually compatible with T-Sheets. They can integrate. So not only are these apps transferring data back and forth from QuickBooks, they're actually now transferring data within each other. So this is all to make the process faster, right? Better, more efficient. Method CRM is a customer relationship management platform. It's actually an app and a platform. What's interesting about Method, it was designed exclusively for QuickBooks. It was designed around QuickBooks, and the core function of Method is to be a CRM system to manage leads, manage sales. But Method can be built and can be programmed to have additional screens, additional points of interaction, so the employee can load data or bring data out and in from QuickBooks in a custom fashion. So check out Method CRM for both CRM and custom applications. Funding Gates Receivable Manager, the third one here on the line, is there to help you manage collections, to manage receivables, to see receivables in a different way, and I'm going to do a demo on that as well in a couple of minutes. It's a real neat tool, and it helps you keep control of money coming in. All right, this is what the Apps.com website looks like. On the left side, you see the solutions bar, where you can click on these major categories, and it will filter the applications based on these specific needs, specific solutions being solved. If you click on all articles, you can read articles, some that I wrote, some of my colleagues wrote, some Intuit employees, even some vendor developers write articles about how these apps work, some cases about some customers where it worked really well, and that sort of thing. So I encourage you to check out the article, especially to compare certain apps. Now, once you click on a specific solution, a specific group here, you can say, well, I want to see only apps that work with QuickBooks Online, and then you get them filtered and you can see them, and they're usually ranked based on number of reviews and number of positive reviews and number of stars here. So you can see the top 2 apps here are 5-star rated. Now, there's 100+ apps in the Apps.com website, and 95 work with QuickBooks Online. Now, that's as of today. We're talking, this is August 2014. So if you're watching this somewhere in the future, hello to you in the future. And this number would be much higher, probably, because the growth of these developers are exponential. Now, you can also access the apps from within QuickBooks Online. So in the left navigation bar, you can click on apps. It's usually the last button there, the last menu item there, and you can even surf and check out the apps from within QuickBooks Online. Now, once you get an app connected, so you set up an app, or you set up a free trial, once that connection is made, you will see on the top right of your app, right? For example, Transaction Pro, you're going to see the Intuit logo. And this basically confirms with you that now they're ready to work with each other. Now, when you transfer that data in the app and you work the data in the app, whatever transactions you're doing, the data is going to be seamlessly connected into QuickBooks. Now, if you go into My Apps in the app section of QuickBooks Online, so we're talking about the app section of QuickBooks Online. If you go to My Apps, you can see all the apps that are connected, and you can choose which apps you want to disconnect, enable, and disable from there. To add an app, simply you click on the app from the Apps.com website. You click on Try It Free. Some apps work instantaneously. Some will ask you to confirm your email or something in that fashion. Most apps, I can't say 100% all the apps, but most apps, I would say close to 90 plus, have some sort of free trial mechanism. So either 30 days or 14 days or 20 transactions or so, up to 10 customers, something like that. So I encourage you to try these apps, and it's really, really good to kind of see how they work before purchasing them. Now, not all the apps are done by third-party programmers. So up in the screen, I'm going to show you some examples. Intuit Demand Force. So Demand Force was acquired by Intuit. This app and service is designed to be a marketing, communications, and a little bit of CRM, customer relationship management, and all the data communicates in and out of QuickBooks seamlessly. Intuit 1099 service. So a couple of years ago, Intuit acquired a company called PayCycle, which is the core of their platform for their online payroll system. And this is considered to be an app because it is outside of QuickBooks directly, but it does use QuickBooks data. So you don't have to rekey vendor information, social security number, address, tax IDs. That all integrates with QuickBooks seamlessly. Now, Salesforce, in partnership with QuickBooks, built an app that lets you transfer customer information back and forth. So if you're using Salesforce to manage leads, customer cases, customer interactions, customer phone calls, you don't have to rekey the information about your customer, such as name, address, emails, things like that. You don't have to rekey it back and forth into the two programs. It all syncs behind the scenes automatically. And Lettuce, also a recent acquisition by Intuit, is an inventory and order management app, and it talks to both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. So now I'm in my QuickBooks Online, and I want to show you a couple of demonstrations of how apps work and how data gets integrated back and forth. So this is my regular QuickBooks Online company file. I'm going to go into customers here just to kind of show you. I don't have any customers here. I don't have any invoices. We're going to go to the settings button up here. We're going to go to products and services, and I also want to show you the products and services that we have: accounting, consulting, bookkeeping. We have some basic products and services here. So the first app I'm going to show you is Transaction Pro Importer. Transaction Pro Importer, basically what it does is it takes data that's already in a spreadsheet and it puts it into QuickBooks. So I'll show you. This is my spreadsheet here. I'm just going to show you my spreadsheet. This spreadsheet contains some product information. These are brand new products that we're about to sell. Okay, MP3 player, leather case. These are things that we're about to sell. We got a price sheet from our vendor or something like that, and this is what it looks like. So we're going to take this spreadsheet exactly as you're seeing it, and we're going to bring it into QuickBooks Online. So to switch over to my Transaction Pro Importer, I'm going to click Select File, and then I just simply select the spreadsheet itself that I'm going to open. I'm going to go to Open here. And then I'm going to click on Upload File. So when I click on Upload File, it will take a minute or two. It will take two seconds. All right, so we're going to select the sheet. So just to kind of give it, this is not an Excel webinar or anything like that, but just the sheet that we're in is the one called Items. So I just want to double check that before we switch over. So we're on the Items sheet. So I'm going to let Transaction Pro Importer that that's the data I'm looking to bring, and I'm going to bring information about items. There we go. So once I tell it that, then it's going to ask me to do the mapping. And mapping means, all right, so I got a column A for the name of the item, and I have column B for the price of the item. So the mapping simply means that I'm going to match up what QuickBooks uses as a field versus the field that I have on the spreadsheet. And I'm using a template that's already preset, so it makes it really, really easy. So we're going to go down here to see a preview of the data that Transaction Pro just read. It's actually showing you I read this information and this is exactly as I'm going to bring it into QuickBooks. So you can do a quick preview and say, yeah, actually that's right, that's perfect. So I'm going to select them all here and click on import, and it'll take a minute or two, or yeah, about a minute or so, and then Transaction Pro is going to process the data. It's going to bring all this information from Excel, and it's going to post it into QuickBooks literally while we watch the symbol here, the clock, process and turn circles. So I don't have to go into QuickBooks Online and key this inventory items manually. There you go. There's the confirmation. So just to kind of show you, I'm going to go, this is live. This is I'm doing this on the spot. I'm going to switch over to QuickBooks Online here, and I'm going to go back here to the settings menu. I'm going to go to products and services, and now I should start seeing MP3 player. I'm going to zoom in here for a second. I see MP3 player, magazine subscription, leather case, the same items that were in my Excel spreadsheet. So I saved a ton of time by not having to enter that information manually. Okay, I'll show you another example with the same application. I'm going to go here up to customers. I have no invoices, no customers. I'm going to go back into my spreadsheet, and I'll show you I have a list of invoices here. Let me click here. So let's say this invoices came from a shopping cart that I have, and these are the customers that bought from me: Janice Johnson, Leonard Walker, and Lisa Smith. And then there's the address, there's the products that they bought, their city, their state, how much they paid. All the information is already in Excel. I don't want to rekey this data. So going back to Transaction Pro Importer, I'm going to go back here for a second. I'm going to create a new import. So let me go to the home screen, and let me go back to this application, log back in, and then I'm going to go to select file, same exact function, select file, same spreadsheet here, upload. Then it's going to ask me, okay, which sheet do you want now? So now the name of this sheet is invoices. So I'm going to go back into QuickBooks here. So I'm going to go into the invoices sheet, and it's going to ask me, well, what type of import this is, and I would just put invoices. So pretty much just the same. So I'll go ahead and click on invoices, and the system will, very similar function, is going to ask me to do the mapping. So your column in QuickBooks, your column in Excel, sorry, it's called what in QuickBooks, and then you do your entire mapping, and you can save the mapping. And then if you scroll down, you get a preview of all the data. Transaction Pro is telling you, okay, I read the data. This is exactly as I understand it. Are you ready to import it? I'm going to select it all and click on import. And again, it'll take a minute or two for all the data to come in, but I'm saving tons of time. I'm not rekeying information. I'm using the resources available to me, such as some sort of export from my point of sale system, or an export from a third-party shopping cart software, Amazon, whatever. Whatever is it that I use that creates this information for me, I don't want to rekey this data. So there's the confirmation. Okay, 3 invoices were imported. So let's switch over to QuickBooks Online here. And again, this is all done live. I'm not clicking on sync. I'm not waiting for the connection to be made. I don't have to log out, log back in, none of that stuff. So I click on customers again, and I'm going to just click on vendors here and click on customers again. And now I can see my 3 customers are loaded in here with all their respective invoices. So that's one of the apps. It's one of the examples of what apps do here. So I'm going to go to another app. I'm going to go to Funding Gates. I'm going to show you how Funding Gates works. So Funding Gates, it's an application meant to help you manage your receivables. So we go back to QuickBooks Online for a second. I show you I have 3 customers that owe me money, right? 137, 125, 126.50. These are the 3 customers that owe me money, and each of them have an overdue invoice. In Funding Gates, I see the same exact information. There's Janice Johnson. She owes me money. And I see the exact same information. I see a graphical display of who the customers are that owe me and how late they are. So I got 3 customers that owe me 120 days. And I'm going to show you, there they are. There's Janice Johnson, Lisa Smith, and Leonard Walker. So let's say, for example, Lisa just called apologizing that she hasn't paid, and she promised us there's a check in the mail. So normally you would write this down on a piece of paper or something like that, and not have a system to keep track of this collection processes. Now, some people may say, well, it's easy. So if Janice Johnson calls me, I'll just go to the invoice here, and let me just go back to the customers here. I'm gonna go to her invoice, and I'm gonna put a note in the system, in the actual invoice. I'm going to put a note saying that they called me, etc. But that's just not efficient. Having to do this inside of QuickBooks Notes is just not efficient. So we're going to do this in Funding Gates. We're going to click on Janice Johnson, and then we're going to go to Make Call. And then, did I speak to someone? Yes, I did. So I spoke to Janice herself, and she says, check is in the mail. Now, I didn't have to put Janice Johnson's profile, phone number, email, none of that stuff, because it's already in my Funding Gates database because it brought it from QuickBooks. Now, assuming that she didn't answer or she ignored me or whatever, I could also go to Send Reminder. And I can say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to send it to Janice directly. And the email is not loaded into QuickBooks. That's why it's not showing here. But if it was, it would just show up in there. And I'm going to send a friendly reminder. So basically, what this does is it creates a friendly reminder of the invoice that is owed. And you can actually configure what this letter looks like. But this is a friendly reminder, and it will go to send email. So that way, I don't have to just keep sending her the invoice over and over and over. I send her the invoice once, and then I'm reminding her in different layers. See, I got friendly, firm, harsh, and final. And final, this, we're going to send you to collections, etc., etc. And Funding Gates even has a collection system, so you can actually hire Funding Gates. It's a very express service, and they take your clients to collection, and they collect for you. So it's another kind of great example of how an app works and how it interacts with QuickBooks back and forth. All right, I'm going to show you one more app here, SOS Inventory. This is what it looks like, and this is synced with QuickBooks. If you can see the top right, just to kind of show you the example, on the top right here, you see the Intuit logo. That means that SOS Inventory is connected with QuickBooks Online. So just to do a quick review here, I'm going to go into QuickBooks. I'm going to hit the quick add button, and I'm going to show you, for customers, the only type of transactions I can do are invoices, estimates, and sales receipts. I do have credit memos here, but I don't have sales order. Now, for anybody that works with inventory, that does back ordering of inventory, they know how important sales orders are, because sales orders are there for you to create a sale, but not to reduce the inventory. So you create the sale while still having the inventory or stock in the warehouse, but being reserved for that one customer, or you're creating the sale for the purpose of letting the warehouse person know that as soon as that product comes in, that needs to be shipped to that one customer. So that's what sales orders do. So I'm going to show you, using this app, SOS Inventory, I can create my own sales order. I'm going to click on sales order here, and I'll choose my customer. Oh, I just set this up, so I have to make sure this thing syncs. So let me just do a quick sync here. There we go. So I'm going to go to sync. I just set up this SOS account, so we have to set up the sync. When we set this up, we didn't have any customers because we actually just loaded the customer database using Transaction Pro, as I did earlier. So let me go to sales order. I'm going to create a sales order here. Okay, I'm going to select my customer. Now this is my same customer database as I have in QuickBooks Online. See, so I don't have to recreate the customers. I don't have to rekey their address information. All that stuff is in here. So I'm going to go into Janice Johnson. See, all her information automatically gets set up in the system, and I'm going to go ahead and sell her a leather case. Now this is the same item that we just loaded into our inventory using Transaction Pro a couple minutes ago. So I'm going to sell them 3 leather cases, and then I'm going to hit save. Now the real neat thing about SOS Inventory, for example, let me just see, I have 3 units. There we go. Let's go hit and save. Total line doesn't equal the quantity. So just want to show you here real quick. There we go. And let me just add, we're going to go ahead and add a couple more items here. Just add a couple more and then we'll make this $20 a pop. All right, so after I hit save here, one of the interesting things about this is because of sales orders, I don't have to look into QuickBooks. I don't have to see that in here. So when I go to Janice Johnson, I am not going to see any invoices here because we haven't finished selling this to the customer. So until I actually ship this product, I'm going to, from the sales order, create an invoice. That's a very important piece. So I'm gonna do an invoice from a sales order into an invoice after the product is shipped. And once that invoice is created, it's going to be created in QuickBooks Online. That way my entire sales process and my entire purchase process is handled by this app. Now, other things you can do interesting with SOS, you can do serial numbers, you can do lots, you can even do inventory assemblies, which is very, very interesting, because you could normally only do inventory assemblies with QuickBooks Desktop Premier or Enterprise. So now we're adding this functionality to inventory assemblies as well. Okay, those are the 3 apps I wanted to demonstrate. Now let's jump over to the apps.com website. That's that pepper I was telling you about. Let me go to the apps.com website to kind of show you how this works. So on the left side of the bar of the screen, we're going to see the navigation bar that gives us 5 major categories of solutions. So if I'm looking for an app that solves my issue with customer management, I'm going to click here. And then we're going to have the apps that are designed for that specific solution. Or maybe you want to search it a little bit differently. Maybe I want to click on all apps so I can see all the apps that are available. And I want to see only the apps that, for example, work with QuickBooks Online. So I can click on that, and then it'll filter only the applications that work with QuickBooks Online. Now, this doesn't mean that they don't work with desktop. Actually, most of these have some sort of connector that can also work with QuickBooks Desktop through that SDK I was telling you guys about. But these are the ones that also work with QuickBooks Online. I'm going to click on all apps again to just kind of show you how to navigate this. I'm going to click on all apps, and then I'm going to go down to a category, billing and invoicing. And then I'm going to see, bill.com, this seems interesting. So I'll click on bill.com, and see bill.com falls into the category of billing and invoicing and also financial management. So you may see these repeated because they do fall into multiple categories. So I'm going to go ahead and click on bill.com. And once I go into the app, I see the logo of the company. I can click on the actual link to the actual developer. I can see how many stars has been reviewed. I can read the actual reviews. I'm going to click on 45 reviews here to just kind of show you, and you can actually see the different reviews that users, accountants, bookkeepers, business owners have put about specific cases. Like I had hundreds of vendors, I have a whole bunch of commission payments, etc., and you can see their experiences with the app. So you could shop for these apps by reading the reviews. You can also read the description. So you're going to get a summarized description right here. But if you click on more, you actually get the full-blown description. And a lot of these descriptions come hand in hand with a screenshot. So this is talking about storing documents, and I click on the screenshot here, and this shows you how you can scan your bills, your receipts into bill.com. Okay, so that's just one of the options here. Now, on the right side, you're going to have the Try It Now button, which is the one that you would use to sync your app with QuickBooks. And then you're going to see their terms for their trial. So there's a 30-day trial. They have their basic pricing, $29 a month. If I click on pricing details, it's going to take me, if there's a matrix of pricing, multiple tiered pricing, you're going to see the tiered pricing in there. And you're also going to see what it works with. So it says here it works with QuickBooks Online. Bill.com actually also works through QuickBooks Desktop, but it's not going to be used, but it's not going to be used with the apps.com website. So you can go to bill.com directly, you can get the service, and you can buy their service and their setup, and it could work with desktop. But through the apps.com website, through this quick try it now button, that's designed for you to work straight with QuickBooks Online. Now I'm going to go to all apps here, just kind of show you a couple of more apps here. I'm going to go to all apps, and I'm going to scroll down, and then I'm going to look for another category. So for example, we're here under business reporting. Here's that donor path I was telling you about. This is QVinci that I was telling you guys about. Okay, so it's a pretty simple process to shop for these apps. Now I want to show you the same type of app browser through QuickBooks Online built-in tabs. So I'm going to go back into QuickBooks, and then I'm going to go in the left navigation bar. I'm going to click on Apps. When I click on Apps, it's going to take me to a browser similar than apps.com. So I just want to show you, this is apps.com here. I'm going to go and I'm going to click here on mobile or something like that just to show you. Here's the apps.com browser, and these are all the apps and the previews and their logos. And in QuickBooks Online, I go to apps and I get something very similar. Now, I don't get the filters. They're working on that piece. I don't get the filters. I just get the most popular apps here. Not all 100 of them are here, but a lot of them are here. Now, if I click on your apps right here, if you click on your apps, you're going to see all the apps that get connected. So after when the 30-day trial goes along, you're going to see all the apps connected there, and you can manage and remove them and add them as you want. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to add Build.com to my app. So I'm going to click on Build.com. It's going to take me to this screen. This screen has a video preview. Most of these apps have a video preview. They have the pricing, we have the pricing scheme, we have the terms, we have some of the reviews. So when I'm ready to launch this, I click on Try It Free here in the bottom right. And I'm starting the sync process. So when I click on OK, now Build.com is going to say, all right, I'm going to set up your account. We're going to ask you to log in. We're going to ask you to synchronize. That's all part of the process here. So let's just wait for that to come up so I can show you kind of how that works. So see, a lot of the apps are actually going to confirm and ask you for some information up front. They're going to say, well, before we set up your app, I want you to set up a username and a password and so forth. Okay, so let me just put, I'm going to put just quick information here. There we go. And I'm going to go to save just to kind of show you how easy it is to set up apps. So in Build.com, the system is already syncing. It's already telling me that it's working behind the scenes. And up here on the right, you're going to see that the company that's going to match your company here. Right? That way you know if you're managing multiple, let me go back to Build.com, if you're managing multiple apps and multiple companies, it's easy for you to know where you're working with. So it's asking me from some basic configuration settings here, saying where do I put unallocated expenses, what's my default bank, things like that. So once I set up, let me see, I have to set up a bank account. So once I set this up and I have a bank account set up and I do my entire syncing, then I'll be able to use Build.com, connect it with my QuickBooks Online to manage my payables, to manage my receivables, send automated invoices to clients. You'll be able to manage automatic payments through debit cards and through bank ACH and things like that. So that's just how quickly you can connect an app. And I'm under trial here, so I'm gonna have a 30-day trial or so, and I don't really have to worry about paying the subscription until I actually see that this service works. Okay, let's talk about the summary of what we discussed. After attending this course, you should be able to understand what an app is, how they benefit your clients, how to navigate apps.com website, how to access apps from within the QuickBooks product, how to explain to your clients how apps are integrated, how easy it is to get them up and running, how they help the entire business process by adding more functions and connecting other platforms. And now you'll be able to identify different apps through the apps.com website, through the reviews, through the explanations, through the trial, and you can determine which ones are going to work best for you and for your clients. Now, thank you very much to the partners over at Intuit, the partners of Apps.com, which have helped us sponsor the QuickBooks Connect event this October. QuickBooks Connect is the biggest gathering of pro advisors, accountants, business owners, and is heavily sponsored by app manufacturers and app developers. App developers are going to be at the show, showcasing their product, showing you how to use it, solving for those clients' issues. So if you're very interested on apps and building up from QuickBooks Online and networking with developers, accountants, and business owners, I strongly recommend you attend this fall's conference. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I hope to see you on the next one.